The rudder of a nation's ship is still trying to find its bearing in a sea of bereavement and sorrow after the loss of two of its most illustrious sons. Joseph Henry Kweku Abiu Mensah, J.H. Mensah for short, was laid to rest of the passing of Kofi Atta Annan, Ghana's most illustrious international civil servant, hit the news, throwing the nation into a state of sadness and mourning. In the mood of national sadness, I welcome you to this week's installment of Press Conference on City TV. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. On Press Conference, we analyze issues of national interest from the perspective of journalists and other key actors in the media space. Press Conference is live every Sunday, and we're bringing you this week's installment. The show is live and interactive on WhatsApp on 05499869996, 05499869996. On Twitter, the hashtag is Press Conference. On Facebook is City TV GH. Tonight on the show, this week has been filled with issues of sports, of football. But on Thursday, government met FIFA in a bid to salvage the country from a possible ban on the international scene and, of course, on the local scene of football. Now, government and FIFA have agreed to a roadmap culminating in the formation of a normalization committee, which is to bring some order into Ghana sports in the aftermath of Ghana football, I should state, in the aftermath of the Anas Aremiyao Anas expose called number 12. That topic is up for discussion tonight on Press Conference. We also discuss the return of vigilantism. In the course of the week, there was brouhaha in the northern regional capital of Tamale after pro-NPP vigilante group Kandahar Boys struck and dragged out of his office the CEO of the Tamale Teaching Hospital. Some arrests have been made, but people say that this is becoming, one too many, and is gradually becoming part of the national psyche. We'll hear the thoughts of my panelists on this issue, and also we'll look at the passing of J.H. Mensah and Kofi Annan. If time permits, we'll look at the parliamentary probe into the banking sector crisis. And we are hearing the Parliament's Finance Committee may not allow the media to cover it live. There will be an in-camera hearing. We'll also discuss that and its implications on the banking sector crisis and our democracy. Press Conference is airborne. We're back after this break to get into the issues. You're welcome back to Press Conference on City TV. Let me quickly introduce my guest to help us do the discussions tonight. Sitting next to me, to my immediate left, is Sami Obeng. Sami Obeng, Executive Director of Parliamentary News Africa, or PN Africa for short. You're welcome, Sami.
Thanks, David.
Next to him is Gordon Asare-Bediako. Gordon Asare-Bediako is editor of the New Crusading Guide and editor-in-chief of the ABN newspaper. You're welcome, Gordon. And then next to him is our very own Ebenezer Fenyidazi. Ebenezer Fenyidazi is online editor of citynewsroom.com. Online editor of citynewsroom.com. Ebenezer, you're welcome.
Thanks for having me,
especially being your first time on the show. Now, let's quickly delve into the issues of football. Virtually every Ghanaian is a football pundit. If you want to know that, pass by people's buildings, or walk into a pub during a Black Stars match, and there you would see the amount of tactical knowledge every Ghanaian has about football. So we'll take a look at this insert, which is that of the Honorable Kojo Oponkroma, Minister nominee for Information, who summarized the happenings in Zurich after a team from government met FIFA at its headquarters in Switzerland.
We consider what has happened as a win-win for the government of Ghana and for FIFA because, as I mentioned, we have succeeded in meeting the common objective which we both had right from the beginning without taking an approach that unnecessarily puts us at different sides of the table. We have a common position now, and we believe that this position will help us to sidestep the FA, reform Ghana football, and draw a roadmap forward. We have succeeded in coming to a middle ground position with FIFA, which allows us to do away with the executive committee of the FA as we had originally intended to do, without necessarily going through the process of liquidating the FA. In this instance, it is FIFA which rather were in consultation with the government of Ghana and CAF set up a normalization committee which will now take the process forward. So essentially we have succeeded in doing away with the FA as we originally intended without having to go through a liquidation process. So
that was Kojo Opon Nkrumah. Let's begin the discussions now. I start with you, Samuel. Let's break the ice. Which football team, local football team? Look at
any day, any time.
Well, you're quite a fan.
Any day, any time.
Interesting. Let's look at the genesis of this issue. The number 12 expose by Anas. What has come out of it, and is this normalization committee going to end everything, in your opinion? Will it set us back on the path of sanity in terms of Ghana football?
Right, Duke. I think that the number 12 expose by Anas has done our country some good, because for long, many people within the football space have been talking about how, the need for us to sanitize the system, yes, so far as our football is concerned. We've had some embarrassing moments in the past as a result of these, issues happening, and so this came in at a good time. The issues that came up are quite embarrassing. I mean, the kind of things that would make you want to bow down your head as a Ghanaian, but we need to make progress, and I'm glad that we are making some progress in that regard. Now, the aftermath of it, though, for me has not, it's been an issue of mixed feelings. There's been the high points and the low points. The high points, and for me, the biggest of all the high points issues would be the arrangements reached between the delegation from the Ghana government and FIFA last Thursday, because what it has done is that it has gotten the government of Ghana to achieve the same things that it wanted to achieve through the courts, but in a way that would not allow FIFA to bring the sledgehammer on us and cause us not to enjoy our football. And for me, I think it's a good thing. The low moments, though, have been some of the missed steps, that has gone on between these, periods. I think that what it should teach us is that in times like this, cool heads must prevail. We must look at ways in which those who are communicating, especially from the government side, will communicate properly. I mean, one of the very first news item I heard about the whole GFA process was when the Minister for Youth and Sports, granted a radio interview and said that, the GFA is dissolved. And it shows for several weeks down the line that even before the legal process, yes, exactly, had begun. Exactly, and I mean, it shows that is not really the way to go, and you cannot just say GFA dissolved. So I think that really was one of the missteps that we shouldn't. I mean, I was also very saddened even by the approach that the Parliament of Ghana wanted to use. I would definitely bring the parliamentary angle to this. The Parliament of Ghana wanted to use at the beginning of this to wanting to set up a committee in Parliament and all that. We at PN Africa wrote about it. It became even a botched process. It never happened. So cool heads must prevail when times like these come up. But I think that we need to commend the government delegation that went to meet the delegation from FIFA. The 6-point press release that FIFA issued, in my opinion, sums it all up. And I am more excited about the last point, which really goes to summarize everything and say that, once government is satisfied with the first 5 steps that needs to be taken, including the normalization committee, then it would withdraw the case from court, and then we can be able to make progress. I'm excited also that the issue about normalization committee is firmly entrenched in the statutes of FIFA, and there are rules governing it, so that whoever is part of it cannot even become an elected official of the FA after the process is complete and all. So I'm excited to watch my Kumasa Asante Kotoko back again when this whole process is done.
Gordon, which team do you support?
It's not by mere coincidence that he's on my right hand side. I'm also Kotoko fan.
Shout.
I'm also Kotoko fan. So, but honestly speaking, I don't remember the last time I went to the stadium.
I see.
To watch a Kotoko match.
Because the local football is unattractive.
Not necessarily so. For want of a better word, I would say the administrators failed us. All the football teams. The administrators failed us. I mean, the declaration of good proceeds. I remember there was a day I went to Massive Sports Stadium, full to capacity, and the amount that they declared, I said, no, I won't go to the stadium. Okay, so it's not just one person. I mean, the whole from House of Folk, Kotoko, Brikum, everywhere. I'm excited about the outcome of the meeting, especially whereby they say there's going to be a task force in place to have a comprehensive audit of the activities of GFA. I think we are going to actually have the real definition of the word coefficient
from that committee.
Yes, and we are supposed to have that the true meaning of the word coefficient in terms of how to calculate how much somebody is supposed to earn. Okay, if you have 10 people and 2 are deceased, and you still divide it by 10, why not 8? You understand? So
you are more concerned about the issues of corruption in the past, GFA, that we must still look at, or the holistic.
Yes, this whole thing is about corruption. This whole issue is about administration. It's about how people in places administer football in Ghana. So for me, it's a win-win situation. Whatever steps the government might have taken earlier, I think the ultimate aim was to, in quotes, dissolve GFA. For me, what is happening, it leads to that.
No, but if the last part, the last point is about the fact that government must take steps to withdraw its court process, because, I mean, the point of contention all along, the court process, that's what FIFA is. That's what FIFA is against.
No, but anyhow you see it, what if government should even withdraw the court process?
Now it's going to be done.
Yes, it's going to be done, but we will not have GFA as its present status now.
Of course, the reform.
Yeah, the reform. So that's what we want. Okay, and for me, now with the help of FIFA, so it is officially sanctioned that GFA has been demystified. Anytime somebody wanted to say anything about GFA, you can't touch us. You can't touch us. But now, with the approval of FIFA,
we are going to reform them.
We are actually going to touch GFA, and we have to go to the core. You understand what I'm saying? Because for me, how can GMPC sponsor Black Stars and then somebody gets agency fee?
Yeah, when GMPC is a state.
You understand what I'm saying? So for me, it's a win-win situation for us. I can't wait to see new footballers on the pitch of Babaya Sports Stadium. I can't wait. And I'm a Manchester United fan. You understand? But I also love to see Kotoko play. But now, who do I go to the stadium to watch? For the first time in decades, I can't mention 5
Kotoko players.
Yes, and it pains me. It really pains me a lot. So I'm hoping that it doesn't drag on for long. The football people in quotes must realize that there's a new crop of people who are willing to touch GFA, and the GFA has been sanctioned by FIFA for that touching to be done. So they should realize it, that no, let us do it this way. Let us meet government halfway. But government must also know that you cannot just, it's not a ministry that you can just, the president has decided to scrap the ministry like that. You cannot do it like that. So they should all come back to the round table, sit down. What is the best way for it? I'm sure the football people themselves know the damage that they've done to Ghana football. I hope and pray that they will repent.
Okay, Ebenezer, which team do you support? And then looking at the processes, where we've got into now, is there hope for the future?
Well, I'm a House of Folk fan.
That's on my left.
I'm a defunct House of Folk fan.
Wow, okay. Well, he's qualified that, but let me confess, I'm a Kotoko fan.
Good.
That's fine.
And I think the just ended first round. The one that I don't know if it's important. I watched 2 games at the Bahia Stadium. Kotoko Interlies, Kotoko Ediana. So probably, I'm a
you are quite current.
Yes.
Current. We're still with it.
I love my local football. Yes.
I mean, obviously, it's because the taste for most of us have changed over time, and the factors are many. Why the excitement in the team is not the same as before. I mean, I've been to the Accra Sports Stadium to watch us play before, and the excitement was huge. For me, what is happening is good in the sense that my excitement stems from the fact that we have an external arbiter in all of this.
Okay.
Because to be frank with you, with what I have known of how we have handled situations in this country, but for an external arbiter, there would have been more mess as to how government and the GFA was handling this. It would have been terrible.
Is that to say that we can't manage our internal?
No, we have proven many times that when it comes to dealing with certain situations ourselves, we waste it. Let's use a typical example of what happened in Brazil 2014.
Yeah.
We spent money, we set up a commission of inquiry. People went to cry, crocodile tears, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, you and I know, the white paper and the report is on the shelves, is wasting away. Nothing has happened. So I am telling you that, but for FIFA coming in this, things would have been worse. And maybe would have even drawn, the argument would have continued for a very long time. But we should remember that lives are at stake, investments are at stake. The club managers, I'm told that some of the clubs have had to disband the players to leave camp because they can't continue paying.
Of course.
Others are keeping, Hasselhoff and Kotoko, for instance, are keeping the players, paying them, and a whole.
There are some of the managers who are taking their players to Haiti and
a lot of people's investments are at stake, and everything is virtually at a standstill. So for me, FIFA coming in is very good. We know that they are now going to set a joint committee of FIFA and CAF to now decide when they officially begin their work. They also have the decision to make whether we have to discontinue the league entirely, because we finished the first round. Whether discontinue or start afresh or continue with it, all that decisions will be made. We know that they are going to select people that we can trust, who are not tainted to destroy the process, and it's going to be a good process. So some people are worried, and they think that, well, it appears that this decision means GFA has been covered up from the rot or whatever. I don't think so. It's good. And this is not the first time a normalization committee is being set up. We know of the Cameroonian situation. We know of the Guinean situation. Even the Cameroonian situation is actually quite fresh, because as we speak, they've extended their mandate to ending of this month. So a process is going on there, also because there's a power struggle in the FA in Cameroon. So there's a good part of all this. And I want to have that hope that at the end of this all, we'll have some good football in this country. Administration will be better, and there will be that confidence. For me, there was an article I wrote a year ago about the fact that even our joy in the Black Stars has waned drastically. To be frank with you, there were times that the Black Stars were playing and most of us were wishing they lose. That's how bad things have gotten.
People jubilated when
that's the point, and it shouldn't happen that way. So hopefully at the end of this, or for me, I believe FIFA will do a good job. I believe this committee will do a good job, and we'll have our football back on track again.
Okay, so around the table, the consensus here on press conference is that the normalization committee is expected to do a good job to restore sanity and put Ghana football back on the right track, so that we can all enjoy our football in peace and pray that the Black Stars and other national teams soar higher on the international scene, and that we'll have a cleaner, corrupt-free football system in this country. From football, let's move to security, matters of security. At a point in time, we at City FM, City TV, citynewsroom.com put together the number of vigilante attacks that had occurred after the taking of office of the New Patriotic Party, usually the pro-NPP groups. It died down for a while, but this week there was a resurrection of a dastardly act, I must say. This is not the first time a CEO has been attacked and pushed out of his office at the Tamale Teaching Hospital, but it happened again this week. Let's watch this insert, and then we'll be back to discuss the return of vigilantism. Kandahar boys attack Tamale Teaching Hospital.
After a 3-hour meeting with the management and leadership of the various health associations at the Tamale Teaching Hospital, the eminent leaders in the northern region, including chiefs, succeeded in convincing the striking health professionals to back down their decision for now to save lives. And as custodians of the land, they assured the hospital management of their steadfastness to ensure that nothing untoward in that sense will happen in future to disrupt their operations. and the striking health professionals promised to resume work immediately. Meanwhile, the spokesperson of the group calling itself the Concerned MPP Youth Coalition, Baba Al-Hassan, who is in police custody, has written an unqualified apology to the management of the Tamale Teaching Hospital. In the letter, he remorsefully apologized for the conduct of the group and pledged the group's commitment to ensure that never in their lifetime members of the group will repeat such an unlawful act.
So that was Abdul Karim Natogman's report from Tamale in the northern region. After this attack, doctors and nurses at the hospital, first the nurses and other health workers, put down their tools. They said they were not going to work. Again, the police made a couple of arrests, and then on Thursday we heard the ringleader of the so-called Kandahar boys had also been arrested. Let me come back to the table and come to you first, Sami. How do we tackle this issue? It's gradually becoming a matter of national concern. I mean, if health workers in a place where people go to seek, some form of succor in times of failing health, if people can rampage the place, and we saw the video, rampage the place like they can and put everybody's life at risk. This is the way to go. How do we tackle this?
Yeah, Duke, you see, this week I think that I have been quite I've been a bit hard on this matter, on social media and some of the interactions that I've had, because I think that we need to get away from things like this in this country of ours. Look, the best way out, in my opinion, is for us to do all of at least three things. One, people who get themselves involved in things like this must not be shielded in the name of politics. These ridiculous acts do not wear political cloaks. For which reason, people must be seen as individuals who are flouting the law, dealt with as such, so that it will serve as a deterrent for others not to repeat the same thing. Because you see, this is becoming one too many. In that same hospital, one can count at least 3 incidents of people, asking CEOs of the hospital out because they think that they are underperforming, or they are, involved in one ill-intended activity or the other. And this cannot continue that way. So for me, that is the very first thing. We must prosecute, and for which reason I'm very excited about the approach and some of the interviews I've heard the Minister for the Interior, Grant, in recent times, when he has actually called on all to stay calm, and the fact that so far as he's concerned, crime is crime, no matter who is involved, you'll be prosecuted. We are looking forward to having these things not just become rhetorics that are given because there is media around and there are interviews being granted, but things that will be followed through. Now, the second thing, which in my opinion we need to do, is to ensure that the media do not stop following these things. Okay. Because you see, if we leave these things and allow the next big story to, take our concentration and our attention, and these things get swept under the carpet, it will happen over and over and over again. And for me, the interest that I have actually observed that your platform, both television, City FM, and online, has taken in this particular matter, I would personally be looking forward to having a big platform like yours champion this and follow through with it. Of course, other media houses will be doing their bit, but let's get the public to understand that media gets results, so that these things will not be repeated. The third issue is usually the processes that leads up to trying to find a solution to these matters, and I think that it must not be business as usual. So what are we talking about now? People walk into a hospital, a place where people who are supposed to be going for medical attention are, with cameras, phones, walking people out of the place. You can imagine the trauma that comes to the people who have gone there to seek medical attention. We can see them from the video that you showed. the police gives us indication they are still searching for these people. We are hoping that the first individual who has actually been arrested will have the remaining people arrested. But in the midst of all of this, then we hear the normal Ghanaian refrain, oh, there is the need for a committee to be established and, you know, to look into the issues that these guys have raised. And I mean,
thankfully, there's not been one so far. There's not been a call for any committee.
There has actually. There's been a call by the, not with the police, but by the Minister for Health to have a committee set up to look into the allegations that...
Well, he was there earlier on in the week to look at, some of the things, but well...
Yes, and you see, then, you know, there are many things that are done. It takes our attention from the big issue, and by the time we realize, you know, the whole thing gets swept under the carpet. Nurses and doctors were on strike for at least a day in this hospital. You can imagine the cost to human life. You can imagine the cost to the hospital itself, so far as internally generated funds are concerned. Now we are saying that to curb it perpetually, there is a need for us to have a police post in the hospital, something that I do not oppose to, because you see in the request that the doctors and nurses made in wanting to ensure that this thing doesn't happen again, they actually, you know, added this to their request. But are we saying that whenever ill motivated individuals walk into a hospital and do such harm at that hospital, there will be a police post in each and every one of these hospitals? It is not sustainable. Yes, it is not sustainable for a country that is not able to meet up to the citizens to police ratio so far as global standards is concerned. And for me, the processes, you know, media attention, and then most importantly, prosecuting people without having any political coloration to it, are the things that we must watch out for.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think the incident in Tamale and then the one somewhere in Central Region,
yes.
I think it's a blot on our conscience as human beings and as Ghanaians. Duke, when philosophers and political scientists wanted to define what a state was, the initial definition for a state was monopoly over the use of force.
Of force, yeah.
You understand? Now, are we saying that we have seceded that one to these vigilantes, that they now form the state for us to be part of it? Since 1992, this thing has been happening. 1992, 1996, 2000, 2004, almost every electoral period, these things happen. And in between these elections, we have these groups somewhere doing these kind of things, but the state is not acting. I remember, was it DSP? Kosifori? He was then the PRO for the Ghana Police. There was this incident at Tripoli. There was a by-election there, and somebody was wielding gun, daylight, shooting in the air, was captured on video. Anytime Kosifori was asked, the police is acting on it. We are working on new leads. The report is being prepared. The report has been prepared. The report is on its way to the Attorney General's office. Trust me, when it gets to the Attorney General's office, it means that's the end of it.
Is that your interpretation of the issue?
That's the reality.
Because there have been cases where the Attorney General has acted. I mean, even though in the famous Kumasi issue, Nolly prosecutor had to be filed in court. But she entered appearance.
You see, the way that issue in Kumasi was handled, it was an insult. Okay? The way it was handled, it was an insult.
Well, we're talking about the incident where the so-called Delta forces in the court.
Yes, that later we had to be told that the person who represented the Attorney General in Kumasi didn't have the authority of the Attorney General in Accra. And I said, what kind of life is this? We must show seriousness. Because Duke, I can't imagine. I'm a journalist, but I'm not a broadcast journalist. So when I come here, this place is a new ballgame altogether. I can't give you any instructions because I don't know how to print anything here. If I even the way you go about your presentation, I can't do it because for me, I know I write. That's your specialty. That's my specialty. What kind of specialty do these people have in hospital administration?
Exactly.
That they think that they
can administer the hospital better.
I mean, it is an insult. is an insult. Yet we sit there unconcerned and allow them to go and look me.
In the name of politics.
Let me say, the official leader of Kandahar Boys, I know him. He's called Ghana Alasan. Now he is the Northern Regional Youth Organizer. I spoke with him.
Really?
Yes. I know Ghana. Now he's now the NPP Northern Regional Youth Organizer. I spoke with Ghana, and the Ghana told me that, in fact, the guys who went on that rampage are not current members of Kandahar.
They are former.
Members.
I mean,
So
we know them.
It means we know them. The emphasis is that we know them. We just watch the video.
Exactly.
The guys, are they ghosts? I mean, if Ghana police cannot effect arrest of this, then we cannot fight terrorism.
That's not just the arrest, because if we've seen in times past, I mean, people have been arrested and the next day they are free. We hope it doesn't become
I'm going to tackle that one as well. And I pity the Ghana Police Service. Nobody can tell me that the Ghana Police Service cannot do effective job in arresting these people. They will be able to identify them. But let them arrest them, and the next minute
they'll get a call.
Political babies all over release this person who asked you to do that, do this. They would even threaten them to send them to Siberia.
Is that not the reason why our various media houses should be policing the process, really? Because the police is helpless.
People are keenly,
if the police is helpless,
watching this matter, and I'm sure the radar will not leave. I mean, very.
No, but you see, as you rightly said earlier, that's why it's not the fact that I'm sitting here, City TV, that I want to commend City FM. How you went round to identify uncompleted health centers.
Exactly.
And then name them one by one. We have 15 or 20. At least we can name them. Then you keep on asking, what is happening to this project? What is happening to this project? But unfortunately for us, although because we say news is fleeting, the moment the news comes, it passes away. I mean, unfortunately, we've turned ourselves into conveyor belts. You understand? It comes, we deliver, and then we are waiting for the next scandal to come, and then we follow up. We don't even follow up. So we should try to ask them. That reporting matter, I'm sure if you are to go to Ghana Police Service and ask them now, they say it is still under investigation.
There's a docket.
You understand? So for me, people in Tamale know these guys. People in Kumasi know Delta boys. They are with us in the system. So they should be arrested. They should stop it immediately so that they will give the police the free rein to operate. Without it, I mean, regional hospital is supposed to be a security zone. For me, I think it's supposed to be a security zone. That you allow them to go in there, not drag out the security man at the post, but the chief executive officer. That is crude, and we shouldn't entertain it.
Even thankfully, I mean, let me say that we've had the national youth organizer of the NPP condemn the act and call the police to act. But most of the times, there is the notion that politicians just hide behind the smoke screen and just say effect arrest. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, they are calling these rules to go because they actually acting them. And people say that they have actually been emboldened because of the currency of relevance that the politicians give to these vigilante groups.
Thank you very much. I think that mostly we tackle the surface of this issue, but we know that there are root causes. The root causes of the sense of entitlement, the fact that people feel they have labored for the party during elections, the promise of jobs that are not forthcoming. There are always root causes, so they always becomes difficult when you are dealing with this just on the surface. So, in actual fact, imagine a young man who supported an MP with his strength and everything time, and he won elections. He never got anything, and he's part of these guys. If he's arrested, and he calls the MP, if he didn't get him a job, at least he should get him released.
And that MP should be arrested too.
But you see, the point is, the political will is not there. You were talking about what the MPP's youth organizer, what his name? Nana Boakye said. Let me read what Nana Akufo-Addo said about political vigilantes when it started. cityfmonline.com, now citynewsroom.com, we tabulated 18 incidents between January and December, between December 2016, that's when after they won the elections, and January 2017. We counted 18 cases. Most of them were in the Ashanti region, Greater Accra, Northern region, a few incidents in Brong-Ahafo, Western and Eastern. This is what Nanado said. And he said this on November 6, 2017. On the new phenomenon of vigilantism, I'll do everything in my power to arrest its development. I will not walk the path others trod, who found it convenient to turn a blind eye to the criminal misdeeds of their followers and took no action, as it would displease them. I am walking another path, the path of making the reality of the principle of rule of law, the idea of equality of every citizen before the law. Wrongdoers wear no political colors. They are just wrongdoers and will be dealt with as such. It's just laughable. It's just English pieced together. But reality on the ground is a hoax. You and I know that it's a hoax.
But for
let's say
some time
after talk about the arrest.
For some time after, I mean, this was made, there's been relative.
Please. It's only, you see. Let me tell you something. How that Kumasi incident, the invisible forces, the Delta Force attack, how it ended, I concluded that this was the worst form of political vigilantism that has been somewhat accepted in a so-called legal process. I'm telling you, it was a hoax. That legal process was a hoax. That people could storm a court and free people. That was the highest form of political vigilantism I think I have seen in my time as a journalist. I started journalism like 12 years ago. It's the worst form I have seen. And to think that in the end, people were only fined peanuts. And do you know what
Which
happened?
they came to say they had already been paid
Yes.
before
Do
they
you know
left
which
the
people
court.
paid those money? It was
Politicians
who paid it for them.
And they were being bold and very brazen about it to come and say,
that
well,
is an endorsement of that wrong. So you think that the person in Tamale will also be afraid to do it the next time? No. Because in the worst case, the same politician will protect him. Let's not forget, in the same northern, in fact, in 2018, a lot of the incidents we've had are in the northern region. The Karaga DCE incident. Do you know that that incident, eventually, a whole committee was even formed in the northern region, led by Amin Anta. And some few people go and talk to them, go and solve the problem. When they finish, that Karaga incident, you remember what happened? They locked out the DCE in his office.
Yes, right.
The DCE ordered for their arrest. When they are arrested, some members of the youth went to the police station and freed
them. Yes, so also the Upper West
matter.
matter.
That case was taken to court. Eventually, as I speak, those people, they were released.
There's also the Upper West matter, which caused the suspension of the Upper West
minister. The Upper West minister, at the end of the day, what happened? He's walking away. But I had people who told me that the Upper West minister told the police straight away, after they attacked the NADMO coordinator in the region, he said, please, this is a party matter, stay away. That is what a regional minister said. So we are just joking. See, the arrest of this young man who is a spokesperson for the coalition in the Tamale, it was just for, it's cosmetic.
So for you, it's, I mean, there's no real will to deal with this.
It's cosmetic. It's all a lie.
Then it means there's no hope.
So
really.
we are pretending to be solving the problem. It's a lie. There's nothing happening. Let's not kill ourselves. And for me, political vigilance is one of the things that makes me sad and makes me angry at the same time. Because we are running a republic as if there are no laws in this country. And Nanado, tell us about the rule of law, crime wears no political colors, please. You can say that to the marriage. All these are jokes.
All right, that's he feels very, very strongly about this. I mean, political vigilantism. That's the point before I go to what our viewers are telling us.
I just want to say that, you see, on the point that Eben ended, it only goes to tell us that if we cannot trust the state institutions, if we cannot trust our leaders who have been elected and all of that, then those of us within the fourth estate must take these matters up. I mean, Eben, editor on a portal that is amazing, you know, we all read it. I think that if we are championing these things, whatever comes out of it, putting it out there, if it's being talked about on TV, it's being talked about on radio, you see, in the end, we may not have the kind of results that we need where individuals get prosecuted and all of that, but we would have individuals who get informed about the actions and inactions of politicians and would punish them some way, somewhat. So we must do our bit. We shouldn't throw our hands in despair and feel discouraged about the issue. We must do our bit.
Okay, so let me read some of the comments coming in now. This from Bright Bafudria on our Facebook. He says, nice presentation. This one from Kelvin Echo Taylor says, why are we even discussing this? They have to be arrested. Simple. Nowhere in this world will any serious government tolerate this kind of act. Ghana, and in the interviews, people are interviewed just to prove who speaks the best English. This is a no-brainer. They have to be prosecuted. And Jill, this one from Theo Alotepapo just says, jokers. Some of the comments that were made previously, well, we may not be able to independently authenticate some of them, but we'll take a break here, and we'll be back to deal with the other issues.
For regular news checks as they unfold. 2020 news, all day, all the time. Politics, sports, entertainment, business, and more. 2020 news. We bring you the world in 20 minutes.
And that's all the news in 20 minutes.
We spice up your mornings with culturally enriched conversations, social interviews, and policy-oriented discussions that will keep you updated on the progress of the nation.
Because we're giving only those in their third trimester. So in the next 3 months, those in their second would be ready to receive the kits. And we're taking data at registration, which is before they take the kits, at delivery and post-delivery, so that we can analyze and we'll see the numbers. So from the numbers and the data that we're collecting, we would know what has worked, what hasn't worked, you know.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Let your voice be heard with the hashtag Breakfast Daily. Join us for breakfast daily, only on City TV.
Welcome back to press conference on City TV. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku, and before we went to that break, we're wrapping up our thoughts on the matter of political vigilantism and the issue that occurred in the northern regional capital, Tamale. That's the pro-NPP vigilante group, the so-called Kandahar boys, and the attack on the Tamale Teaching Hospital CEO. Next, we'll move to a matter that has thrown the country into a state of mourning. Last Friday, Joseph Henry J.H. Mensah, as was popularly called, was laid to rest in a state funeral, state burial. A day after, which was Saturday, that's yesterday, Kofi Annan, the UN Secretary General, the 7th UN Secretary General from 1997 to 2007, 2 terms, also was reported dead in Switzerland, Geneva, where he's been living for some time now. Interesting similarities in the life of these two great sons of Ghana. They were both born and bred in Kumasi. They have Fanti roots. They have, both of, in the case of J.H. Mensah, his father is a Fanti. The mother is from Iwadomasi in the Bunaaf region. In the case of Kofi Annan, both mom and dad are Fantis. They grew up in Kumasi. They were both products of the elite boarding school system that were left, or that was bequeathed to us by the colonialists. In the case of J.H. Mensah, Shmota School. In the case of Kofi Annan, he went to Fanspin. So they both studied economics, first in Ghana, and then they went to continue outside. J.H. Mensah started at the University of Ghana, went to LSE, then went to Stanford University. That of Kofi Annan studied economics, first at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, then went to Macalester College and St. Paul, Minnesota, USA, to finish up there. They both worked in the UN. J.H. Mensah in a UN agency called UNECA, that's United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. Both of them worked at a point in time in their lives. They both had to return to public service in the country and all of that. So there are so many similarities in their lives, which probably I may be putting them into an article on citynewsroom.com in the course of the week. Very interesting similarities in the lives of these great men. In your short, and now have a brief profile of Kofi Annan. We're also showing some of the pictures of the men that we are talking about. Now let's begin the discussions in the studio. Sami, what would you remember these men for, J.H. Mensah and Kofi Annan?
Right. Let me start with J.H. Mensah. Now, when we lost J.H. Owusu-Champon, an amazing legislator, there was a lot of talk about how the two JHs in the 1997-2000 Parliament, you know, changed the face of Ghana's parliamentary systems. And so for me, it saddens me that an amazing legislator has passed, albeit at a very old age. You know, he has paid his due to
89 and then 80.
Yes, he has paid his due to the nation greatly. He has served the parliament. He served the Parliament of Ghana well. There are a lot of amazing literature to read about J.H. Mensah, you know, and his stay in Parliament. I have taken time to read about him and J.H. Owusu-Champon on how they've helped to transform our Parliament. There are many of the MPs currently in Parliament who say they pick their inspiration from this great man, J.H. Mensah. You know, very diligent with the work he does. The tributes that were read out at his funeral goes to lend credence to it. And of course, his work speaks for itself. And I think that we pray for the Almighty God to keep his soul. Now, Kofi Annan, you know, growing up, many of us would always felt proud and happy to be Ghanaians, because you would always see this Ghana man who has the Ghanaian name, you know, no Brofu name in there.
So those are the two illustrious sons, J.H. Mensah and Kofi
out there speaking before the cameras, you know, making Ghana proud.
And in spite of all his many years in the US, and he still spoke with that, you know, impeccable Ghanaian accent.
Indeed.
No, yeah. Let me just leave it there. I mean, just spoke plain Ghanaian English.
Yes, and so it made us all proud. And in my opinion, beyond Kwame Nkrumah, perhaps the second man who has put Ghana on the map so greatly, in my opinion, undoubtedly, is Kofi Annan. And it is sad that we have lost him, but he has paid his due to the world. He has paid his due to society. He has paid his due very, very well. Now, at the UN level, amazing stuff that he did. And for me, it is worth remembering some of these things now that he's gone. Of course, we are not only remembering it now that he's gone. Even in the time when he was alive, these were things that were putting out there.
Probably this is a picture that not so many people have seen. That's Kofi Annan. Immediately he went to McAllister from K University. He was drafted into the McAllister debate team, and that year they won the Oratory Prize in Minnesota State. So that's Kofi Annan, the young Kofi Annan without grey hair, with his trophy that they won the year, I think 1956, when he went to McAllister from K University after he was drafted into by the Ford Foundation grant, a scholarship from the Ford Foundation. Yes.
Yeah, and it's amazing the kind of things that he championed in his time as Secretary General of the UN. Really shows a man who understood his roots, understood the things that the world needed to be able to move out of the state in which it was. So matters relating to HIV and AIDS, matters relating to tuberculosis, malaria, you know, all under the Global Fund that he championed. The Millennium Development Goals, we know how amazing these goals helped in transforming, you know, things for us. For me, one of them that stands out is how the elimination of extreme poverty, the call to deal with extreme poverty. In 1990, 37% of people around the world living under extreme poverty conditions, as at the end of the Millennium MDGs, under 10%, for which reason the strategic development goals is moving towards a more audacious target of ensuring that it gets totally eradicated by 2030. These are the, you know, works that Kofi Annan led whilst he was within the UN system. We know of how Kenya has been transformed, a lot of the other countries in the world, how he stood against matters relating to war and his position on these matters. Amazing. I think that these men have paid their due, and it's a lesson for those of us coming up on why we need to do our best, you know, strive in whichever role we find ourselves in, and be the best that we can be. I would want to end it on this note. You see, usually when people work very hard in certain places, you would hear those who did not come into very close contact with them but have read in the news what they have done, you know, eulogizing them and talking about the things that we have read. But sometimes I like to go to find out what individuals who directly worked with them think about them. Apart from all the many eulogies that we have heard and the posts we've seen on social media, there was one that, you know, nailed it for me, you know. So with your permission, I would like to, you know, so there's
just briefly.
Yes, briefly. There is, so Jeffrey Sachs is supposed to be, or is a special advisor, or was a special advisor to Kofi Annan on the MDGs, Millennium Development Goals, and he says this
just last year he was in Ghana, actually.
Yes, and he says this in an article that was posted on CNN.com yesterday, which I found very amazing. So he says, in every generation we depend on a few people of supreme decency and intelligence to hold the world together. In Jewish tradition, I guess he's Jewish, there are at all times 36 tzaddikims, and that means righteous people, you know, so far as the Jewish tradition is concerned, without whom the world would perish. And he thinks that Kofi Annan was one of the righteous people, a man of extraordinary intelligence, decency, warmth, and joy of life. He helped to keep our world from blowing itself apart or dividing mercilessly between the rich and the poor. And for me, this sums it up.
Well,
it's a pity that actually yesterday I was at a funeral of my niece, so my nephew, yesterday morning around 7:15 a.m. I had that news, and in the era of fake news going around everywhere, you still have to cross-check, double-check, and then cross-check again before you can put it out. So a lot of people were calling me to find out whether it was true. In fact, I said I'm at a funeral. And that's what I told them. I said I'm at a funeral because I didn't want to. I mean, Kofi Annan is a huge that
and if you goof on Kofi Annan,
you depends
on the credibility.
I mean, you can never recover. You can never recover. So, but my brother has just said a lot about both gentlemen, so I don't want to go there. But I want to take it from this angle. In the next 10 years, the next 2 decades, are we going to have another Kofi Annan in Ghana? Are we ever going to have another Duke Mensah in Ghana? Are we going to have another Peter Lajete in Ghana? Are we going to have another DF Annan in Ghana? I am not sure for now.
Why?
In fact, me, I fear for the future of this generation.
So I think why would you have fears? There are people who are actually preparing themselves for some of these roles in the country.
Let's hope so.
They are very bright young Ghanaians.
No, it's not a matter of being bright. It's a matter of being principled and honest.
So about the honesty, all right. I mean, yes, that's. I mean, I agree with you to a certain extent.
That's it. Do we have people who are diplomats but they have the principles?
I mean, talking about that. I mean, reading a book written on him by Stanley Mesa. It tells you how, I mean, the US did not want Boutros Ghali to go for a second term and did everything to ensure that they supported him through covert and overt means to get Kofi Annan to be in power or to be UN Secretary. But yet when he became president and Bush declared the war on Iraq, he was bold and told them that they were wrong. He was illegal, and at the end he was proved right. Yes. And for me, that's a mark of someone who would not kowtow to the interest of the US, even though they helped put him there to remove Boutros Ghali.
Exactly. And then, for me, he prepared himself for the top job. He started from the scratch, rose through the ranks, and got to the top job.
And the first ever person within the UN system to have done that.
Yes. And it doesn't happen easily like that. It doesn't come up just like that. But I want to advise the present youth. You look as if we are always treading on the highway to riches and that kind of thing. So we don't even want to start, but we want to end immediately. You understand that we try to cut corners. I think in 1997, that was my first time I had an encounter with Kofi Annan when he came to KNUST for the coronation. I said, "Wow, I have to go and watch Kofi Annan." In fact, between 1997 and the year 2000. Every morning, we have to tune TV to CNN and BBC just to watch Kofi Annan talk. In fact, those were the periods where guns were firing all over.
From Syria to Bosnia.
That's it.
Everywhere.
Those were the days when Christiana Mampo was Christiana Mampo. You understand what I'm saying? Those were but not this present day.
People would disagree.
No, I'm not expecting anybody to agree with me. I'm not supposed to do that.
That's the essence of the conversation.
Exactly. So, for me, Kofi Annan, my brother rightly said. In fact, I don't want to compare, but I think for the past 50 years, if there was any man who had put Ghana at the highest pedestal in terms of global geopolitics and other things, no, Kofi Annan is incomparable. Nobody can compare to Kofi Annan. And I mean, we take pride in him. Duke Mensah, exactly so. In fact, I was parliamentary correspondent for the Statesman newspaper. There was a day Parliament was rising. I went to Parliament, and then I saw Duke Mensah and then Kendrasa.
Yes,
I saw them. They were at a certain corner there with their quality something in front of them, quality liquid in front of them.
Quality liquid.
Yes, sharing. And it was amazing that Kendrasa, NDC, Duke Mensah, MPP, and they were having hearty chat for long. In fact, I stood by for more than 1 hour. They were there. A lot of people have eulogized Duke Mensah. I come nowhere near to eulogize him because I don't know him much. But I think his footprints are all over for us to see. Anytime Duke Mensah stood up to make a representation, to make a presentation in Parliament, you could, I mean, he made going to school, he made education so attractive. You understand? He wasn't a lawyer, but he could argue with legalists. Just use the legal jargons to not bamboozle his way out, but to make his point, drive home his point.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So, Duke Mensah, I hope and pray that the next 10 years we have such people in Ghana so that we can look up to them.
Amen.
Duke, we are quite young. The two men, if you check their ages, one is 80, one is 89.
Yeah.
I was reading about Duke Mensah, and he's worked about 53 years of his working life. And most of it was in public service, except on 2 occasions where he did some job for the UN and for the African Development Bank. Most of it was in service, as MP, as minister, serving as in the preferred time. I mean, he's an amazing guy, and the things I've read from people, it tells you that at the helm of his service was the fact that he was a selfless man, and materialism was not his focus. If there's anything to pick from the current generation and even the current crop of politicians, that's what they should pick from him. Because somebody was even telling me that he thinks he died a pauper because he didn't focus on materialism. But then again, the danger is that it also tells us how as a country we don't reward people who have that kind of integrity.
Exactly.
We demonize people with integrity in a certain way in this country, and we praise crooks who appear to be good.
Yeah.
It tells you, because can anybody here tell me if Duke Mensah was given any of our national award?
Oh, he was.
He was? You know that for a fact?
Probably by President Kufuor, I think.
If he got it, then that's good, because we need to honor them enough. And I'm hoping that going forward, we'll name something critical after such a man, because he was a great statesman. Kofi Annan, we were young, but like my brother said, for me, on the global stage, nobody has advertised Ghana better, apart from Nkrumah, than this man. You can talk about even our footballers like Abedi Pele and Co, but this man, when he took us, I was reading tributes about him from Angela Merkel, and Merkel was telling us, German Chancellor was telling us that he was taking inspiration from Kofi Annan.
Yeah.
I've read what Obama said about him. I've read what Vladimir Putin said about him. I read a lot of things today.
Vladimir?
When I see. He was yes, I bless you.
Wow.
And when I finished, I was held spellbound. I'm like, wow, this man, he's indeed what he was. And for me, he goes back to confirm to me that indeed some are born great, some learn to be great, because where he got to, he's a global president. For me, the position of UN, when you're a Secretary General, for me it's like you are the president of the world.
Yes.
And at the time, I remember some Ghanaians were saying, oh, he should have come to be a president in Ghana.
And 2007, when he actually was, I mean, there were rumors.
It's true. At that level that he was, he's been a global president. I don't know what else he will go to solve for us. And Kofi Annan also believes, despite all that he was, he believes that change comes from a collective
and
thing, and not an individual. And it's one thing he's always said.
And his experience in Ghana's public service was not the best. So probably, I don't think he came to head the Ghana Tourism Authority, as known then. In those years when the champion was head of state, it didn't really go well. So he went back to.
But he's a great man. I mean, one thing that everybody said was about the charisma. Kofi Annan carried a certain grace. There was an aura around that man when he comes, when you see him, and when he talks. And then for me, that was an amazing thing. But all I want to say is this. There's something that Dr. Miles Monroe, one of the greatest preachers and an author from Bahamas, said. He says, don't die old, die empty. Because that's the goal of life. Die empty and go to the graveyard and disappoint the graveyard. And indeed, Kofi Annan died empty because he's giving all that he has to this world. And that's it.
Thank you very much. I mean, the writers have said that he entered every room with a certain sartorial grace. Let that sink in. This one from Amekplenu Emmanuel Senior says, one thing Kofi Annan will be remembered for is the peace he brought to the continent and the world. I can again say they both have humility and integrity as a similarity. And that's how we end press conference today. It's on next week, same time. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. Thank you very much, Samuel Bing, for joining us. Ebenezer Fenyidazi and Gordon Asaribidiakum. Thank you very much for joining us. And to you at home for joining us. Good night.
Killed nearly 500 people there. Also coming up, Afghanistan announces a provisional ceasefire with the Taliban, but says the insurgents must do their part for peace. The truce comes after a week of bloody violence. And hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans flee their country in search of work. But as the numbers grow, neighboring countries say no more warm welcome. I'm Helena Humphrey. Good to have you with us. The Indonesian island of Lombok has been rocked by a series of earthquakes, one measuring magnitude 6.3 and the other off the island's northeast coast measuring 6.9. The tremors caused landslides, damaged buildings and spread panic just 2 weeks after the worst earthquake in the island's history killed 460 people.
It is a scene that is becoming familiar to residents and holidaymakers on the island of Lombok, the aftermath of yet another powerful earthquake. This measuring magnitude 6.3, the first in a series to strike the island over a matter of hours, damaging buildings and causing panic.
I was on the third floor. It was very strong and we could feel